everybody for Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. My name is Stephanie Ingram, and I am the president of Woodland District 50 PTA. The PTA has the privilege of working to bring programs, assemblies, school and classroom needs to the children and families in our school district. We are so excited to bring this school board candidate forum to the community. The PTA is acting as a neutral party and does not endorse any specific candidates for the upcoming election, but we do want to help voters make informed choices and get to know their school board candidates. I would like to take a moment to introduce our moderator for the forum, Mr. Pat Arnold. Pat was born and raised in Johnsburg, Illinois. He currently resides in McHenry with his wife and 2 children. Pat is a second-generation electrician and a 26-year member of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 117. He works currently as a project superintendent for LAMP Incorporated in Elgin. In the past, Pat has been involved with Cub Scout Pack 131 as a den leader and committee chair, the McHenry Baseball Association as a coach and the director of fundraising and sponsorships, and has served on the Economic Development Commission for the city of McHenry. Presently, Pat is a member of the Board of Education for the McHenry Community High School District 156, where he is the board's vice president. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Pat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie. Welcome, candidates. Second here, just gonna. Before we start opening statements, I would like to do a quick overview of the ground rules. Candidates will each have an opportunity to provide opening comments, answers to each of the questions, and closing remarks. Candidates will have 1 minute for their opening, 2 minutes per question, and 1.5 minutes for their closing. The question will be read once at the beginning of each round. If anyone would like the question repeated at any point during your turn, please ask and I will reread the question. The PTA will be assisting with timekeeping tonight. There will be a green card displayed once a candidate begins speaking. When there's 30 seconds left, a yellow card will be displayed. A red card will appear with 10 seconds left. At this time, candidates should wrap up their responses. Candidates will be muted if they continue once their time is up. As mentioned before, this session is intended to be informative for the members of the community. Candidates should not use their speaking time to provide a rebuttal to another candidate's response or debate. The speaking order was determined beforehand for the statements and questions. There will be 6 questions presented to the candidates tonight. We will take a brief break following the 3rd question. At this time, we would like for the candidates to begin their opening statements and introduce themselves. Candidates will be called on and unmuted when it's their turn to speak. So for the opening statement, our first candidate is Joel.
Good evening, and I would like to first off thank the PTA for having this forum. This is really the only forum we will have to address the voters. So I think this is a great opportunity for us to all talk about what we want to accomplish on the board. I strongly believe in giving back to my community. And I also believe that quality public education is a cornerstone not only to our democracy, but to our society. But in order to have a good public education system, you need a strong functioning Board of Education. I believe my background in serving on various local government commissions and nonprofit boards provide me the expertise necessary to be an effective member of the Woodland Board. As we will discuss here tonight, there are many critical issues facing Woodland, and I believe with a strong board, we can meet these challenges and provide Woodland students a quality education. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. Next will be Nelson.
How's everybody doing? My name is Nelson Tate, and I am I guess you would say a lifelong resident of Lake County. I have been in the Woodland School District off and on for about 6 or 7 years, but I've actually been substituting in the Lake County area for over 10 years, from Libertyville High School to Waukegan High School, Warren, and now obviously at Woodland. And education is kind of in my blood. My mom was a elementary school teacher for about 30 years in the Waukegan school system. And I guess I always thought I was going to be a teacher, but life had other plans for me. But education, I believe, is not only invaluable, it is the cornerstone, I believe, to to all the dreams and aspirations that we have.
Thank you, Nelson. Next will be Julia.
I'm so sorry, Julia. I'm gonna have to ask you to start again and hit your unmute button. It's not working. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My mute button wouldn't switch over. Okay, I'm on. My name's Julia Plesha, and like everyone else, thank you for hosting this. I think it's really important for the community to have to hear us and to be able to see us. So I'm running for school board because I have a desire to serve my community. I have a passion to care for children and their families. And I believe in public education as the best way to set kids up for success in their lives. I have dedicated the bulk of my professional career to serving the families of Woodland and the children of Woodland as a school nurse for 25 years. And now switching gears to retirement, I hope to be able to continue my service on the school board. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Next up will be Carla.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you as well for hosting this event to the members of the PTA. I'm Carla Little. I am running for re-election to the Woodland Community Consolidated District Board of Education because I completely believe in public service, and my way of giving back to the community has been serving in various roles in the educational community. I have, I apologize, I'm kind of stumbling here looking at this timer, but basically, I feel like I have a lot to give to the district. And I would like to continue to serve. I've been a strong advocate for the parents and the students, and also have been working hard over the years, to improve our curriculum and just make it a safe and rewarding place for students to learn.
Thank you, Carla. Next up is Carrie.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Carrie Rasmussen. I'm a mother of 2 girls that attend Woodland and are in the dual language program. And our family relocated to Gurnee about 10 years ago. And the reason why we chose to move here was because of the school district, the diversity of the school district, and of course, the dual language program, because we wanted our kids to be able to continue to learn their native language. Since moving to Gurnee, I've given back to the community, not only through my volunteering at the school, but I'm also part of several other community groups, and even started a STEM program at the CLC preschools to help bring the love of science and learning at a young age. And I really look at my being on the school board as a way to continue to give back to the community, and also to give back to the school district that has given so much already to my children. So thank you, and I look forward to meeting all of the other candidates tonight.
Thank you, Carrie. Last for opening statements will be Eric.
I'm Eric Dodlin. I have 3 students currently enrolled in the Woodland School District. Again, like the other candidates said, I want to thank the PTA for hosting this to get our names and faces and our viewpoints out to the community. I'm looking forward to telling a little bit about myself throughout this forum and presenting how I'm a qualified candidate based on my experience in the community and education I've gone through. It's an honor to be doing this, and I hope that I potentially get elected and could continue doing great things for Woodland. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. All right, we're going to question number 1. Our first candidate to respond will be Nelson. Question 1, what qualifications make you a good candidate for the Woodland School Board?
First of all, Pat, I want to say to the Woodland PTA, thank you very much. I forgot to do that. And those cue cards are coming pretty quickly. So I believe that I'm a good candidate. I'm a lifelong resident of Lake County. I'm passionate about education, and having worked in the Woodland, not only school system, but you know, the middle school, you know, I can see the needs of the students. I can see the support that the teachers need, and I know that there are ways that we can improve both the student needs and support for the teachers through our school board efforts. I like to believe that, you know, I'm a person of integrity. I have the students' best interest at heart. I'm a listener, and I will always consider the viewpoints of my other board members, and obviously, you know, community input before making any board decision. So I've served on other boards before, but you know, Woodland is an opportunity for me to serve on a board that I really am passionate about. So that's other than, you know, my educational background, which, you know, is in my bio. I think that I'd be a great school board member. I'm probably going to be one of the older school board members that are elected if I'm elected, and obviously the only and maybe even the first African American male elected to the school board. So I'm really kind of excited.
Thank you, Nelson. The next candidate will be Julia.
Hi again. So for my qualifications for the school board, I come with a pretty broad perspective to offer. I'm a parent. I had 6 of my biological children all graduated from Woodland many years ago. And my 7th child is adopted, and she's in the 7th grade at the middle school currently. I also come as a grandparent. I have 2 of my adult children now live in the district, and their kids go to intermediate and elementary. Also, as a nurse, I have a bachelor's of science in nursing from Northern Illinois University and a master's in science in nursing from North Park University. My past employment with the district, I've worked at Woodland 25 years and in the union for 25 years, so I can see, you know, I know how it works from that perspective. And then also as a nurse, I got my family nurse practitioner certification and worked for Lake County Health Department for 4 years, most of that concurrently with being a school nurse. But for 1 year, I left Woodland and I went to Round Lake High School for the health department and opened up a school-based health center there. That was the focus of my master's degree, and I was really excited to be invited to go there and do that. So otherwise, my perspective includes being retired, being a taxpayer and a homeowner since 1990 in the district, and living unincorporated Lake County. So lots of different angles there. I appreciate your listening, and we'll move on.
Thank you, Julia. Next up will be Carla.
Okay, thank you. My qualifications for running for reelection to the Woodland Board. I have served the district since November of 1999 on the school board. Also have served as in various roles on the board as president and vice president. I've chaired committees, including the policy committee. So I'm bringing that background of understanding how to write policy and get policy passed. I've advocated for our school district at the state and the national level in terms of funding for our school district. Also, I am also a previous parent of Woodland students. I had 4 daughters that went through the school district that are now all graduated from college and out there living their best lives. So I have that perspective that I'm bringing to the board as well. I'm trained as a research scientist, but have over 20 years in public health. So I'm bringing that perspective of being a problem solver, trained that way as a scientist. I have the ability to listen to people and advocate on their behalves, whether that is a position that is my position or not. I think I'm really good at advocating for people and for students, parents, teachers. I think just wanting to make sure that everybody has a great experience in our community because that improves the learning environment for students overall. And I just am very, very passionate about public education, and I really want to ensure that to try to instill that and be a cheerleader for that for every student.
Thank you, Carla. The next candidate is Carrie.
Hello. I think some of the qualifications that I have that would help me on the school board is I've spent the past 30 years working in the pharmaceutical industry. My background also is in science. I have a microbiology degree and also a master's in change leadership. And as part of my roles in leadership within my career, I work on very diverse, large teams and have to work cross-functionally really to help set up strategy and ensure that our teams are meeting their goals. So I think that I would be able to work very effectively, not only across the board, but with our administrators and with the teachers, so that we could really work to come up with good solutions and to address the needs of the school district. It probably doesn't surprise you that as a scientist, I love data and I love to analyze data. And I really believe in benchmarking and looking at what research tells us, what other people are doing, things that are working, right? And using that to also help inform our decisions. And I'm also really value diverse perspectives. And I love seeking the feedback of others, especially people that I think have a different perspective or might even have a different view and not agree with my view on certain items, because I think it's good to have that open discussion to be able to come up with the best solution. And I also think as a leader, I really think that it's important to listen to the people that are doing the work, the people that are in the day-to-day real life, to understand what the issues are, what their concerns are. And those are the people that sometimes have the best ideas for how to solve things. So I think that background would help me on the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Next up will be Eric.
Sorry about that. I have a large background working in the field, and I also have a bachelor's degree in elementary education. I also, during my early years in college, I was an inclusion aide for Northwest Special Restoration Association. I was a site coordinator for a before and after school program. I also have 3 kids that are currently in the school district, so I could get firsthand experience about what's going on, how they're handling certain situations, what they see. I have an 8th grader, a 5th grader, and a 2nd grader. Each individually have different plans and where they are in. They have one has an IEP, one is advanced classes, and the other one excels in certain subjects and struggles. I have a certification in wastewater and water, drinking water. I also have was the president of the Algonquin Lake in the Hills JCs, which is an organization, a civic organization that focuses on business and leadership and development through community involvement. I did that for when I lived out in Algonquin area. And I recently was part of the strategic planning committee for the 5-year strategic planning for Woodland School District, where I made suggestions and was involved in for the next 5-year strategic planning committee. So I think based on all that, I think I have a lot of qualifications that would be a good board member for Woodland. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. The last candidate for question number 1 will be Joel.
So my background is going to be extremely different than almost everyone here. My background's in corporate marketing. I do email marketing and loyalty programs, whether Eddie Bauer, Dick's Sporting Goods, American Eagle Outfitters, Zorro, a division of Grainger. So my experience is really strong in analytics and data analysis, figuring out what a problem is, and then working with a group to figure out the solutions, and then monitoring that over time. But I also believe in giving back. When my daughter, my oldest daughter, started at Warren Township High School, I decided I wanted to figure out how I could get involved at Warren. So I joined the Warren High School Foundation, and about 6 months later, I was elected president of the foundation. So I work very closely with not only some school board members from the high school who are on the foundation with me. I also work closely with the superintendent of public schools at Warren. In a previous, when I lived in Madison, Wisconsin, I was appointed by the mayor to the Community Development Block Grant Commission. And I also served as chair of that commission. And that's a group that gives out millions of dollars every year to neighborhood centers, job training, affordable housing. So again, analyzing budgets, analyzing effective results. For me, it really comes, my focus is going to be on 4 things. How are we educating our kids? How are we working collaboratively with parents, teachers, staff? How are we communicating not only to those stakeholders, but how are we communicating to the general community in general? I know we have a question on that later. And finally, how are we evaluating everything we do, from how the board operates to how our staffing goes and how our budgeting is? So I think those are some important strengths I bring to the board.
Thank you, Joel. Question number 2. The first candidate for this question will be Julia. What is a significant challenge our district is facing, and how would you address it?
Okay, I am aware that the current school board has trouble making quorum at times. And I understand that it's a big commitment to prepare, to read the board packets, to do the research, ask the questions, attend the meetings, and be prepared. But I feel that there needs to be an improvement in the board attendance, because the work can't be done if the board doesn't meet quorum. And so I think the district depends on the school board to be a solid, committed group that works in unison as a team and shows up to do the work. And I think that we have to commit to that. I know that as a school board member, I would commit to that. I feel like being retired, I've kind of always had it in my mind that I'd like to be a school board member, but I never felt like I could commit to it. I just was too busy. And now I feel like I'm still pretty busy. I've got two of the grandkids and my daughter lives with us. So we have a family of 6 here. It's a busy place, a lot of bus times and coming and going, but I am absolutely committed and want to serve in that capacity. So I think that's one area I would support, an attendance policy for the board moving forward if I have that choice.
Thank you, Julia. Next candidate is Carla.
Okay. I think some challenges that I would identify is just the changing demographics of our student population. You know, as Woodland has started, you know, back in the early days, we were growing, you know, the mid 90s, early 2000s, we were growing pretty rapidly. So we had a large student population, and now that's kind of shifted. So, our social higher economic numbers have, I'm saying this wrong, I apologize. Our low socioeconomic numbers have gotten higher. We have a higher percentage of students that speak their first language is not English. So I think that's leads to challenges making sure that we're, you know, providing the proper materials for, you know, to educate those students, making sure that we have support systems in place for them to feel as if they belong in the district. Um, and one of the good things I think our board has done and our district has done is we continue to evaluate the climate of our district to ensure the curriculum's working, the support programs are working. We just completed a strategic plan that goes from out to 2028. So we're always trying to be proactive in identifying problems as they come up and then looking for solutions for them. So I think we've done a really good job at that. And I think those are efforts that I'd like to see continue with the board and in the district, as if whether I'm on the board or not, but I would love to see us be proactive in how we're identifying problems.
Thank you, Carla. Next is Carrie.
Sorry, having a mute button problem there. So I think one challenge that I think the school district needs to look at is really the teachers and staffing, since essentially they're really the backbone of the district. And as I've talked to people during the campaign for running for the school board, I've heard things that morale in some of the buildings is really suffering, and that we're losing a lot of really good teachers that have been with the district for a really long time. And I think it's important that we find ways to address the culture. What is the root of this problem? How can we address it? Because it's very important that in order to address other issues within, you know, we talk about addressing learning gaps or addressing testing scores, but we can't address those things if we're not able to keep good teachers and if we're not able to hire good teachers. So really finding ways to improve the culture. As a leader, like, the culture of my team was always the number one priority. And I think it's important as leaders that we take the time to get to know our people and let them know that they're appreciated, make them feel valued, really help try to build that positive work culture, because the happier people are at work, the more effective they are, the more productive they are. And I don't think we can address the other issues if we're not able to address that. And I think that also goes maybe a little bit to what Carla was talking about, the changing of the school population and maybe the decrease that we're seeing, and making sure that we're having very strategic plans for staffing in the future and have plans for how we can address that in a proactive long-term strategy. as well, so that we can meet the future needs of our students.
Thank you, Carrie. Next will be Eric.
Yeah, I like what Carrie said and Julia said. I think those are both important topics. I'm going to address some other topics. I think the attendance at the school is an issue, the math scores, and better communication. I know these are challenging obstacles, but as a board, I think we could resolve some of these issues by working together and putting our differences aside. And making sure that, like Julia said, that we're present at the board. I know there's been a couple issues where people are don't make a commitment, and then if I do get on the board, I will make sure that I'm there and committed to being a board member. To address some of these issues, I think we need to listen to why things are happening, learn from why things might be happening, and then take actions from there as a board. I think working together and making sure we understand what's important, that's the kids. That's the major objective of being on the board, to make sure we're giving the teachers the resources they need, and making sure that we give the kids the foundation of learning. The district does a very good job being very inclusive. I think we should continue to encourage that and make sure everyone feels welcome throughout the district. And I understand this is not going to happen overnight, but I think with a couple new board members coming into place potentially, I think this could be accomplished with everyone working together to remember what's most important for the district, and that's making sure the kids are getting the education they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Next up will be Joel.
Well, Eric kind of stole my idea, but I will repeat it anyway. So thanks, Eric. Even though the pandemic feels like it's behind us, the pandemic is alive and well in how it's impacting our students. If you look at our proficiencies in ELA or math, we are still below where we were before the pandemic. And I think most critical, Eric, talking about absenteeism. Chronic absenteeism, which is defined by the state as missing 18 or more days of school, which is the equivalent of a month of school. It's 23% based on the last report card that Woodland filed. Now that's better than the state average of 26%. But when I think about that 23% of our students are missing more than a month of school, it breaks my heart, because I'm thinking about what their future is going to be like if we can't correct that in middle school. I don't know, that's just going to continue. 32% of second graders are chronic absentee. Some of the most critical years of their education, they're missing. Eric, to your point, we need to understand why this is happening and figure out a way, hopefully, to get these kids back in school. And if we can't, we got to figure out, is there an alternative? Because we just can't go 18 days without with these kids not learning. So that's my laser focus, is how do we get our test scores up back to where they were, and how can we reduce this chronic absenteeism? Because I don't know what the solution is. I think whether we do surveys to the parents, and we work very closely with the administration to come up with what those areas are, but it's been 3 years now. I mean, it was 24% the year before that, so it's come down a little bit, but I really think that has to be our number one priority. How do we get kids back in school and learning?
Thank you, Joel. The last candidate for question number 2 will be Nelson.
Okay, a significant challenge. I've been subbing at Woodland off and on, like I said, for about 5 years. And Eric, you mentioned that you were on the strategic planning committee, and I read through that earlier, and I saw a lot of things in that plan about DEI and diversity and inclusion. But I have to be real honest with you. I haven't really seen the diversity. I mean, for a district of 4,000 students to be the largest, second largest school district in the state, and not to see the kind of diversity that should be represented with those numbers, I think is a challenge for our district. And I know that part of the issue is funding, getting new teachers. And I understand that we have an issue. I don't know if it's still an ongoing issue with Prairie Crossing and the charter school and all those kinds of things. I've heard that mentioned, but there has to be a way for us to move to a place of real representation. When I walk through the halls and I see kids every day, and students know Mr. Tate because there's not too many people walking the halls that look like Mr. Tate. And I know that a lot of them, say to me or ask the question, Mr. Tate, are you going to be a permanent teacher? Are you going to stay here? And I have to say no, but I'm definitely going to work real hard to find someone who replaces me that you and all students can identify with. So, inclusion and DEI. I don't even want to use that term because it's not politically correct. I don't believe anymore, but we need to improve on it.
Thank you, Nelson. On to question number 3. The first candidate to answer this question will be Carla. How do you plan to engage with the community, parents, staff, and students?
Okay, that's a great question. The way I engage with the students, parents, staff, and the community, all of my information is published, so people can contact me at any time. I also host a Facebook page where I try to share out information that's relevant from our district website and other educational forums on my page to try to keep people engaged in what's happening. And that page is open to, of course, is public, so anyone can follow me there. Also, in terms of how I think our board together can work is to host, in addition to the school board meetings, uh, host forums where we're able to have two-way communication with the community on specific topics that either the community suggests or the board knows that there is a challenging issue that we would have to decide upon. Then having that type of forum available to have those two-way conversations with the community. Another way is in the past, what we've done is publish a newsletter that's reflective of the school district from the school board perspective, is another way to engage. But I really enjoy, more so than anything, is that two-way communication, having those conversations, whether it's coffee chats with parents, at the local Starbucks, to just talk about what they see are the issues within our districts, within our district, and how we can improve, how can we support them as a board, how do we advocate for parents and their children, as well as how do we support our teachers and staff and the administration. So just love talking to people about that and finding solutions.
Thank you, Carla. Next will be Carrie.
I think the way that I would engage with community, parents, staff, and students is first and foremost prioritizing open communication channels. As a leader in my workplace, I always had an open door policy, and I thought that it was very important to actively listen to the concerns and ideas that come from my employees, and that it's important to treat everyone with respect, even if they have a differing viewpoint than yours. And always, because we're not always going to agree with each other, but we have to be able to work together. And like Eric was saying, have that ultimate focus on the children and what is best for our kids, and ensuring that all of the children in our district are getting a great education. I think it's important that we get into the schools, that we're seeing all of the schools. You know, I have children in intermediate and middle school, so I get into those schools quite often, but I don't have the chance to get into the elementary and primary schools as much anymore now that my kids aren't there. So I think we need to be able to get in there, see the facilities, talk to the teachers, get to know the students, observe what's happening day to day, real life, what is going on in the schools. I think it's also important to attend school events and be there to help celebrate students and staff achievements. Um, get out into the community, as Carla said, to hear the concerns and the perspectives of the community, understand, especially people that may not have students in the schools, who aren't getting into the schools. What are the concerns of other constituents within the community, and how can we help address those and really give them a view into what is happening in the schools if they don't have that. And then I think it's very important that we're transparent in our decision-making processes, because people really need to understand the why behind the decisions that we're making.
Thank you, Carrie. The next candidate will be Eric.
All right. The one thing I have 3 kids, like I said earlier, in the school district. So I'm involved in a lot of the activities that go on in the school and talk to a lot of the parents, and sporting events. I'm out in the community already. And I'm a very active person. So I communicate with a lot of parents. Like, I have firsthand experiences of parents I talk to. My wife's heavily involved in the school district, and she talks to parents, teachers. So I think I have a good hand in listening to people and concerns. One thing I've heard when I was going to get, talking to people in the community, is that a lot of people are not aware in the community that don't have kids in the school about what's going on, why it's happening, what accomplishments we are Woodland's seeing, why are we doing certain things, why is the school district, stuff like that. So I think maybe in the future, maybe like sending out a quarterly paper in the mail to communicate to the community, or some way of getting outside, or, like I said, I have inside the district, I talk to a lot of people, but outside, the people in the community, what's going on in Woodland, and show the accomplishments and how great Woodland is as a district, and what we're doing and stuff like that. So I think maybe having a mailer on a quarterly basis of all those things might give the community a better feedback about what we're doing and why Woodland's such a great district, and what made me move into the school district in the first place. So I think that would be a key point in the future. If I became a board member, that would be potentially something I would like to encourage, and we do, so that everyone's aware, not just in the school, because we get the emails and all that stuff, but maybe some way of communicating with the outside, that of people that want to know what's going on.
Thank you, Eric. Next will be Joel.
I promise Eric and I did not collaborate ahead of time, but I agree with you 100% on the community newsletter. I think we should do one at least maybe twice a year, one right after the Illinois report card comes out, so we can summarize that and say, where do we stand? I would love if we could find some school districts that are similar to ours, so we could say, here are 3 peer group school districts. So we're not just comparing any school district, but school districts that are similar to ours, and say, how are we doing? Not only against state averages, but schools that have similar demographics to us. So, because I think that's a great idea. I think, if you think about it, probably 60 to 70% of Woodland residents don't have kids in our school. I don't have kids in our school. And so I think that's how we deal with, because eventually there could be a need for us to go to referendum for any number of issues. And you want to build those relationships with the community before an election, not at an election. Carrie, you broke my heart when you said there's poor morale at the school and among teachers and teachers leaving. And I really am a big proponent of 360 reviews. I think we should survey staff, parents. I would even recommend surveying students and just asking them, do they feel safe at school? Do they feel like this is an inclusive school? Do they feel like they're welcomed at our school? There's things we could do there, I think, easily. And I've done this before in other environments, and you get so much feedback and different things you never thought about. So I think we really need to work at 360 feedback. And yeah, I think that's about it. But Eric, quit stealing my ideas.
Thank you, Joel. Next will be Nelson.
Yeah, I really, really think that that Woodland's doing a really good job in community engagement with parents. I attend the parent-teacher conferences. I sit in on many of the staff meetings. One of the things that I've kind of heard, Carrie, is a concern that class sizes are growing, and teachers are experiencing some frustration with the class sizes, and obviously the curriculum that we have. So I think it's really, really important to, do something special or special things for our teachers, whether that's award recognition programs. One of the things that I know students, and I kind of wrote this down, is to be an advocate for teacher professional development. So teachers can, obviously continue their education, improve their teaching skills, which obviously is going to give them a degree of satisfaction. But I just think teacher recognition is really, really important for morale purposes. But in terms of engaging with parents, I think we do a really, really good job of that, engaging with students. If you show up to their extracurricular activities, they're going to be glad to see you. I think to continue to do those kinds of things is going to be encouraging for our students. Just be there when when they need us. I think is really, really important. So.
Thank you, Nelson. The last candidate for this question is Julia.
Okay, I think everybody really covered all of the same main points, but I will quickly go over them. So how do I plan to engage with the different stakeholders, the community, the parents, the staff, and the students? I think first of all, being present physically and mentally, going to the meetings, like everyone said, going to the events. There's always something going on at the schools. And I think as a parent, when I go and I see Dr. Maychek there, or I see different board members there, I feel really good about it, that they're so into what they're doing that they want to, be there and show that everyone take in the culture and take in the feeling of what's going on in the community. I think we do have a really good community feeling when you go to the events. The parents are usually really engaging with each other and happy, and the kids seem really happy to be there. Although during the school day, maybe a little different. But so being there is important, being noticed and familiar, being approachable to the teachers. I think if we give them a sense of approachability, that they will confide in us what their concerns are, and they'll know that we're interested in wanting them to stay longer and continue being really excellent teachers. We do have a lot of really amazing teachers. And then the feedback, yes, from the kids, I think is really important. We need to listen to what they say and how they feel in the school days, because I know the district puts a lot of energy into the students feeling good and having a good culture. But if what we're doing doesn't work, we need to know that so that we can try some other options. So.
Thank you, Julia. At this time, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We will reconvene at 8 p.m.
Yashin, what are you saying? I was hearing you.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. We are going on to question number 4, where the first candidate to answer will be Carrie. What has been your involvement with Woodland prior to running for the school board in this election?
Oh, I think I tried to unmute myself at the same time. So obviously I'm a parent. So I have, as a full-time working mother, it's not easy to find time in the day to be able to get involved in the school, especially during the school day, but I have made it a priority to try to get into my children's classrooms as much as possible. So I am always volunteering for every party and always tell the teachers, if you don't have enough people, I'm always available to help out in any way possible, even if it's just providing the materials. I don't have to be in the room. You know, I've gone in room to help with dissection projects. I go on field trips, whatever it is that I can get in to actually get to know the students that my kids are with, to get to know their teachers and to see the buildings. Um, Whenever I see things posted where they need help, I try to help out. I've helped out in the elementary school with getting math materials ready. I've helped with book fairs, PTA, clothing sales. I also helped build some scenery for an intermediate play. But one of the things I enjoyed the most is I was part of the dual language parent advisory group. And I thought getting involved in that group was great. Not only did we help a lot, we did a lot of preparing for the teachers that were coming abroad to teach. And that's near and dear to my heart since I lived in Puerto Rico for a long time. So being an expat in another country, I know what it's like to move somewhere. And it also gave me insight into the decisions and help give ideas on the dual language program. And now that I have a kid in middle school, I got involved in junior achievement and part of the parent advisory committee there. So I'm just trying to get involved in as many things as I can in the school.
Thank you, Carrie. Next up will be Eric.
Prior to this, well, my daughter's been in the school district since she was in kindergarten. I have the 5th grader and 2nd grader. Each of my children have different strengths and weaknesses. One of them has a 504 IEP plan. The other one is an advanced classes and challenge classes. And then I have one that excels in certain subjects and the other ones that don't. So I've been heavily involved in trying to make sure that I adapt my understanding of where they are and what they need from me, and what potentially the teachers could help out in making sure we keep them on the right path. I also was part of the strategic planning committee. I also volunteer with my daughters and son to feed my starving children. I do that a couple times. I've also done the Bernie's Book Bank, where I volunteered at that recently. And I've also helped with events with the PTA on several occasions. So I've been pretty heavily involved in the school district before running for the board, because if you have kids in school, those are the most important things in your life, probably. So you're going to be pretty heavily involved in the school district. So I figured this board would be a great thing for me to continue. Thanks.
Thank you, Eric. Next candidate will be Joel.
I do not have experience in the Woodland School District. We moved to Woodland 4 years ago from Wadsworth. I am a practicing Catholic, and my Catholic faith is very important to me. So our children go to Catholic grade school and then public high school. That is something that our family has a tradition of doing. I did that. My brothers did that. My father and mother before me. It's not that we don't believe in public education. I strongly believe in public education. That's why I'm very involved at high school. It's just that my duty to my faith and my children, and as one of our friends said, the goal of a Catholic parent is to get your kid into heaven. So I really need to do whatever I can to instill that Catholic values in them. So you ask, why would someone who's only lived in the district 4 years and doesn't have kids in the school want to run for Woodland School Board? I can tell you my wife asked me that question. It's because I have a commitment to give back. And I think my experience working on other boards and my data analysis and my ability to understand complex issues and work as a strong member of a board really helps out. Because at the end of the day, I am Woodland, even though my kids didn't go here, because I live in the Woodland School District. So when people ask me what school district I say I'm in Woodland School District, because I am. I've been encouraged by parents and staff at Woodland that I know, other school board members that I've talked to about this, who know me and have seen me work in other boards and commissions have encouraged me to run. So I'm not doing this for any other reason and giving up a lot of time potentially to do this, because I just want to make Woodland schools better for everyone whose kids do go there. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. Next up will be Nelson.
Hello again. My involvement at Woodland has been the last 5 or 6 years, as I said. But Woodland is actually kind of like the culmination of my guest teaching experience. I've been substitute teaching all over Lake County probably for 10 years. I have a master's in business from Pepperdine that I got back in the late 70s, early 80s, when many of you were probably maybe like still in high school. Unlike Julia, I am retired as well. I did 25 years. I worked enjoyed 25 years of management at Allstate. Prior to that, I was a national account salesman with a computer company in Boston. And most recently, I worked for AI Retiree Health Exchange. I have master's studies in divinity, both with Trinity and with Indiana Wesleyan University. So Joel, I can identify with your Christian faith there. But I have experience as a guest teacher in middle schools and high schools all over Lake County, but I migrated back to Woodland because I see the value in being a part of the Woodland family. We still need to to do some things to increase our exposure. But I just think out of the schools, and I don't want to be remiss because I do sub at Viking as well, but I do think Woodland is a great school, and I'm going to continue to be at Woodland and give back as much as possible. So.
Thank you, Nelson. The next candidate is Julia.
Okay. So my involvement with Woodland goes back pretty far, which I've kind of already explained a little bit. It's all very multifaceted as a parent, grandparent, staff member, union member, lead nurse for many of those years, taxpayer, homeowner. And when I was at Woodland, I was on various committees. I was on the strategic plan committee, not the last one, but the one before that. And then I was always on the child health and welfare committee. So I learned a lot through that for many years. I was on the committee that just was looking at which food vendor to use. We had Arbor Food always, and but I learned a lot about the process through that. Recently, I've been on the band boosters because my daughter's in band. So I just spent the whole weekend there slinging hot dogs and pizza. It was really fun. And I've been through the fourth superintendent is currently there, Dr. Maychek, but Dr. Little was there for all of this too. Dr. Conti, Dr. Sawaboda, and Dr. Casey, and now Dr. Maychek. So lots of perspective on the history there. But I feel part of Woodland, like I'm so defensive about it. If I'm out and about and someone says something, where they say, well, why didn't they do such and such? And I'll say, oh, well, that's me. Like, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that you don't understand. And so my defensiveness kind of is one of the reasons it made me think about it, that I should run for school board because I really believe in Woodland. So.
Thank you, Julia. The last candidate for this question will be Carla.
Okay, thank you. Prior to serving on the school board, and I was first appointed to the board in November of 1999. So prior to that, I served in the PTA. I was participated in various committees on the PTA when I was there. I served as the liaison to the Woodland Board of Education, and that's what got me involved really in school board work. I was a stay-at-home mom then, and just really got involved in the school board work. And like I said, I was appointed and then ran subsequent to that. Um, I in addition to, I guess, my board work over the last 25 years, I've served on various committees. As I mentioned before, I served as president for a couple of terms and vice president I've served as chair of the policy committee. I have served recently as an advocate for the district with the Illinois Association of School Boards, and also a suburban consortium that's called EdRed that advocates for policies at the state level on behalf of Lake County school districts. I try to get as much education as I can in terms of being the best board member that I can. So I've just recently attended a school safety conference to learn more about how we can improve on school safety in our schools. Um, Additionally, I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, and so I do a lot of work in the community through that process, and I serve as the president of a STEM program called Chocolate Chips that's in the area that promotes STEM in grades K through K.
Thank you, Carla. Moving on to question number 5. The first candidate to answer this question will be Eric. How would you use your role on the school board to support and foster belonging and equity in our district?
Honestly, I think the district does a pretty good job with inclusion and equity amongst the district. Like I said earlier, I was on the strategic planning committee. One of the suggestions that I thought was wonderful and great was that they were going to put a bunch of displays inside the schools of different cultures and display those and have people talk about them. I know the school also, they do a lot of events like Proud Black Dads that I met at the last board meeting I was at. I met some of them. Their message is wonderful. Some of the other things I think we can maybe touch on, maybe I know there's some potential food insecurities and maybe increasing some. I know the district does a good job, but maybe implementing like some kind of food bank at the school district. And I know I've talked to some parents that can't afford sports or have trouble, getting transportation, maybe expanding some kind of sporting event to make them, kids more readily available for them to participate at like at the school, maybe have different like sporting events, where they could participate like a month of, and then somehow the busing potentially or something that may somewhat, just expand on that. But I think as a whole, Woodland does a great job. Like I said, when I was on the planning committee, they, touched on that and have done a great job in doing that. So thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Next will be Joel.
Similar to an answer I gave before, I think we need to ask. we need to do a survey of faculty, staff, administration, and students and ask them, do you feel like you belong at Woodland? Do you feel inclusion? Do you feel like you can be who you want to be at our school? That's the best way to figure out if we're doing a good job. And I think Carla and Nelson hit it right on the head. The demographics at Woodland have dramatically changed since 2006. That's about as far back as I could go looking at enrollment numbers. And the staff has not, obviously, student enrollment changes a lot faster than staff does. But to Nelson's point, yes, there's a lot of research that shows that children learn better when they have people they can relate to. So I think, again, we should look at that. It's really tough, right? It's like we struggle to get all sorts of positions in our schools. We have a bus driver shortage. We have a hard time getting teachers in because our entry-level pay is low. We have staff who decide they can make more money contracting with the school than becoming a permanent member of the staff. So we got to figure out how we can recruit staff in general. But yeah, I think this is something, to Eric's point, we've done a lot. We think has improved belonging and inclusion. I just think we need to ask people, is it working? And if it's not working, what would make them feel more welcomed and belonging at the school?
Thank you, Joel. Next candidate is Nelson. My apologies. Thank you, Joel. The next candidate will be Nelson.
Okay, gotcha. Joel, I agree. And Eric, I was looking at the strategic plan earlier again, and I saw something in there, a program that you guys did. It's called Beyond Diversity. And it said that, new teachers, support teachers, office staff, administration, all those people, and Carla, you probably would remember this program, participated in that. I don't know how long ago it was, but I'd like to know what the result of that program was, because it seems like it was in-house. To me, diversity and inclusion has to go outside of our walls. Joel, you're absolutely right. With the teaching staff that we've lost over the years, there's always opportunities to replace. So, my focus or concern is going to be, where are we looking? If we can go to, Spain and other countries to recruit teachers, I think there's opportunities for us to look either locally, within our geography, or, geographically, to find teachers that are going to fit the needs that we're looking for, if we're looking for, specific teachers. So inclusion, I also met the Black Dads when I was at the Black History Program. I was not aware that that organization existed, and one of the members is one of my fraternity brothers. And I was really, really impressed with him and with that organization, because it really showed a different light on how African-American fathers are perceived. So, I would look at programs like that, and look at programs in the Hispanic community and other communities, that have cultural differences that we can obviously all learn from.
Thank you, Nelson. Next will be Julia.
Okay, so I think we all agree that if people feel welcome and valued, that they will thrive and they'll succeed. And I think that is the goal of what is trying to be done. I see a lot of it written into the strategic plan. And as a staff member there, I know that we had a lot of education on Teacher Institute days, those days before school started. And then again, throughout the year, there were a lot of ongoing education on that, trying to help us learn how to put it into our daily lives at school so that kids would feel it. And we're not there yet. Obviously, there's so much work still to be done. I think the larger culture of our whole nation and, you know, our cities and all the way down to our one school, it's changing all the time, and we need to change with it. So we have to just keep looking at it and trying to figure it out and work on it. I think the district is really committed to a culture of inclusivity and equity, and I'd like to continue learning it from the board's eye view, because I think that probably has a different tilt to it than what I can see as a parent or as a previous employee. There is one area that I have noticed, just because my daughter moved back into the area and transitioning to this school from a small school that they were in before has been really difficult, with kids on different buses and different times, and how to find your report card, and what is family access, and just all these things that Woodland, you've been there for a while, you kind of know all about this. What is Schoology and class?
Thank you, Julia. Next up is Carla.
Okay, thank you. Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
No worries at all. How would you use your role on the school board to support and foster belonging and equity in our district?
Okay, thank you for repeating that. So I would say what I've done in the past is what I think several of the candidates have spoken to tonight, and that is the development of the strategic plans. The board spearheads that effort. And what we did with the last strategic plan was to bring in someone from outside to help us as we're developing the goals from the parent organizations, or I'm sorry, the parents and the staff that participated. We had someone that looked at that from a equity and inclusion standpoint and tried to make sure our community participants were thinking about ways that we can be inclusive of all of our students and staff and parents, you know, whether it's, you know, access to certain, say if you had an access issue, access to certain to the building, or access to having having the ability to participate in band and sports and things like that. So we tried to look at issues like that, if there were language barriers, if there were cultural barriers and things. We also worked to ensure that our books had diverse characters in them, that the library, whether it's the curriculum textbooks or the library books, we've done a really good job of that. The dual language program is another example of what things that we've done to, uh, you know, promote belonging. Different after school activities, having a bus for the band and other before and after school activities allow students to participate. Um, thank you.
Thank you, Carla. The last candidate for this question is Carrie.
Definitely is hard to go last after all, you guys. So the things I have are very similar to what others have said. You know, the importance of seeing your culture reflected in the curriculum and learning about that. Main reason why we look to put our kids in the dual language program, right, is to have that. I agree with Nelson that hiring, we need to have teachers and staff that are representative of the people that are the students that go to school there. I think it's important for parents and students alike to see staff that represent them. Ensuring that we have ongoing development. I think you discussed it already on implicit bias and equity issues. And then ensuring that we are funding and targeting the right interventions, and ensuring that all students that are facing any type of academic challenges get the support that they need, and really monitoring our data to see if there's any disparities between the demographics And I'd also like to see how the demographics are represented in our challenge and advanced classes too. Is that representative of what we're seeing in the data and the students that we have, student population that we have? And then really just, I think, holding ourselves accountable, right? And also what Joel said, getting feedback from the community, the students, the staff, the parents, and seeing if we're actually doing things and helping raise the bar, or what other ideas they have for ways that we can improve.
Thank you, Carrie. Moving on to the sixth and final question of the evening. Joel will be the first candidate to answer. What do you hope to accomplish or change as a member of the school board?
One thing I would like to change is kind of some of the ways the board operates. I was very disappointed when the board decided not to put a student member on the board. I would like the board to revisit that, and whether it's putting one student on the board or maybe even have like an advisory board of a few students from every grade to advise the board, as opposed to having one student board member. But I think we should have some representation from students. I want to reform how the board meetings work a little bit. We start with the closed session, and if you've gone to a board meeting, you see a lot of staff sitting out in the hallways waiting for the board meeting to begin. I would like to see the public meetings be first and have the closed session at the end of the meeting. I would also like any agenda items that are presentations from staff or students to be moved to the beginning of the agenda. I don't think we should have students sitting in the gallery for 2 hours waiting for their topic to come up. And I would really like to get those administrators and those principals and those teachers in and out as soon as they can, because they're going to be right back at it early in the morning on Friday. So the sooner we can get them back home well rested, it's just going to make a better school day. And I don't know why this happened, but in August, a parent emailed the board about a change in the 8th grade trip. And it took the board 3 months to respond to that parent. The board really needs to find a better way to respond to parent emails or emails in general that are sent to the board. And the last item, real quickly, the high school does something really neat. After public comments, they have an agenda item where they talk about public comments. If you've been to a board meeting and you give a public comment and then no one responds to you, it's not really a human interaction. So doing something like the high school board does, where there's the discussion of the board, if they want, of public session, would be.
Thank you, Joel. Next will be Nelson.
Joel, for someone who it's not been in the district before, you're stealing a lot of the thunder. But I agree with you. I think Woodland has a student council, so I think that maybe a suggestion would be to have the president of the student council visit the board and give a report to the board on what the student council has accomplished. I mean, that's just a suggestion, but in terms of what I don't want to change a lot. I think we've got a great board right now. I'm hoping that that I can be a part of the change and be an effective part of the change. But I want to be supportive. I want to be supportive. I want to be visible. I want to be really the same person that I have been, but at an executive level. A person that the students can talk to, a person that the teachers and the staff can talk to, and voice their concerns. And being on the board will kind of give me a platform to have those ideas and concerns addressed. So like I said, I don't really want to accomplish a lot. I want to contribute. That's really what I want to do. I want to contribute and I want to serve. And I just want to see our district be the best that it could be.
Thank you, Nelson. Next is Julia.
Okay, so as a board member, my big hope is that we can help meet the needs of the students. And the way to do that, I believe, is through policy. So we have to be aware of what the policies are, and as we go forward, evaluate if they need to be changed. If they don't need to be changed, we need to really enact the policies, because if their needs are met, they're going to learn better. They're going to come to school more often. We'll see an improvement in that chronic absenteeism. The teachers, I believe, will be more satisfied with their jobs and stay longer. They'll come to our district more. So that's one big area which I think we can do through school policy. Obviously, the financial decision making, I hope that as a unified board, we can put the resources to the best possible use. We will have a strategic plan coming up in 2028 again. So between now and then, definitely focusing on the current one, and then moving forward, having, a new one to work on. And collective bargaining will also be coming up during the 4 years that we're in. So a successful bargaining session would be really, I think, a good goal to work towards.
Thank you, Julia. Carla, you were next.
Okay. I think some of the things I would like to accomplish as a member of the Board of Education, I'd like to continue the work that we're doing as a board and working with the administration and staff and teachers as we continue to research those best practices in teaching and learning and implementing those to the best of our ability for the children. A lot of there's always room for improvement. Some candidates have mentioned the learning loss that happened due to the pandemic. So we're still trying to find ways to, bolster that achievement that was lost during the pandemic. And others mentioned the chronic absenteeism. Those are things that we need to work on. And it's really promoting those best practices that are other people are finding across the country that is working to improve their schools, that we have to learn about and see what works in our district. One of the most important things I think we do, and we do it well at Woodland, is teacher and staff professional development. I think that helps with the overall learning of the children. And so I'd like to continue those things. Big issues I think are coming up are fiscal, will be fiscal in nature as the things are changing rapidly at the federal at the federal level. That'll trickle down to our state level and then trickle down to us. So we're going to have to really be diligent about understanding those changes and how they're going to impact our students, and find the best way in our community to continue providing that high quality education that we insist on having in our district.
Thank you, Carla. Carrie, you are next.
Okay, thank you. First, I want to say that our experience as a family in Woodland has been great. We've enjoyed all of the teachers and had a great experience at Woodland. And I think that the board and the administration and the staff does a wonderful job on a day-to-day basis to make our district great. So I think coming into the board, what I would want to do is really model kindness and respect as part of our interactions as a school board. I feel like we should be setting the example for the students and the staff on how to work together and what we expect from them. As I've already mentioned, I think there needs to be more transparency in our communications and the decision-making processes that we use. We need to ensure that the school board and administration are aligned and that we're communicating clearly to the staff, that we're speaking with one voice. If they're getting conflicting information or direction from multiple people, it can lead to confusion and also maybe issues with morale that we're seeing at some of the buildings. In the last board meeting that I watched, I really appreciated during the discussions on the staffing changes for next year, where some of the questions from parents and emails that came in were addressed. Because for me, that really gave me an understanding and reasoning behind some of the changes we were making. And I think a lot of parents would appreciate that kind of understanding. And I don't think we're always seeing that in the board meetings. And again, I think it's important that we find ways to retain our wonderful teachers and look for ways to continue to improve the learning environment for the students.
Thank you, Carrie. The last candidate for this question is Eric.
All right, I think the accomplish and change as a school board member, I think the most important thing, and I think is making sure we put the kids first. I mean, that, like I reiterated that, I got kids in the school district, and I have firsthand experiences. It's very vital that they're getting the best education they possibly could get, and that we provide the teachers and staff with the resources they need to accomplish that. I think sometimes we lose track of what's important. When we're on the board, we should, set an example, like Carrie said, of how we want our the students to act. I think sometimes, we expect kids to attend school on a daily basis. We talk about absentism, but then there's, some of the board members. I've been at a couple board members, and some of the board members haven't been there. So I think, if you're gonna, actions are louder than words is what it comes down to, in my opinion. I think making sure we put the kids first, and that we give the resources necessary to the teachers and staff to accomplish those goals. And that that the board is visible, and we are out in the community doing things, that people know who we are, so that if they have concerns or something, they can actually approach us and maybe talk to us about their concerns. Like I said, I'm out in the community. I meet a lot of parents, so I think that's a very vital part of this whole thing. Open communication, be readily available, and respond. The responsiveness is very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. We are now moving on to closing remarks, which will be in reverse order of opening statements, starting with Eric.
Can you still hear me? Okay. I first of all, and just want to thank the PTA for putting this on, and representing, and myself, and tonight, and how I want to preach how best I could represent teachers, staff, and stakeholders, and contribute to making important decisions for the district that will directly affect your children and ours. One thing I really pride myself is thinking long. I'm an excellent listener, being fair, and listening to all sides and objectives before making decisions. My wife always tells me that I take a long time to make decisions, and sometimes it's a little longer than she'd like me to take, because I believe no decision you make that could impact long-term should be taken lightly. When it comes to our kids' futures, especially, I don't make spur of the moment decisions, and I do my homework before I'm making the decisions. And if I'd be elected to the school board, I will take those qualities and apply them to being on the school board. I'm looking forward to making these decisions for Woodland School Board if I am elected. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Carrie, you are next.
Okay. I also want to thank the PTA for hosting this. I think it is very important to be able to get this out to the community, and for everyone to be able to get to meet us and to understand our vision for the board. I also want to thank the other candidates for being here. As a community member, as a parent, as a voter, it's really great to get to know each of you better. And I really hope that I really look forward to the opportunity to serve the district. And I'm really excited to be able to do my part to continue the success of our schools for our children.
Thank you, Carrie. Carla is next.
Thank you. Yes, again, echoing thanks to the PTA for putting on this forum, and thanks to all the candidates that were able to participate tonight. I'm asking for your vote as for reelection to the Woodland Board of Education. You know, I've been a strong advocate for Woodland District 50 for the last 25 years. Been a part of a lot of the great programs that everyone mentioned, you know, whether it's the board and our district maintaining our fiscal responsibility and keeping healthy fund balances, the dual language program, all day kindergarten, the school infrastructure, the beautiful buildings that you see. You know, the board has been a strong leader in making sure those things happen in the district. And a lot of times bringing those ideas forward and having the community, having the administration research those. So I have, you know, I believe in just serving where I can, and education is that avenue for me to serve. So I would like that opportunity to continue to be your advocate and continue to bring great programs for teaching and learning to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Julia, you're next.
Okay, thank you, Pat. So I'm happy to be here as a part of this forum, and I appreciate all of my fellow candidates for all of your input, and the PTA for hosting this important event. I feel like I have a good background with a lot of energy moving forward that I'm hoping to be able to commit to the school board. I want to take what I think is already great. Woodland is great. The teachers, the staff, the administration, the buildings. I really appreciate our schools, and I feel that we're really privileged to have them. And along with that privilege comes the responsibility to step up and be involved with them and make sure that our students are getting the best that they can get. So I look forward to working with the cohesive group. 4 out of the 7 of the school board seats are up for election on April 1st. So we will have a new face to the board, and I hope that we can all work together to create that safe and welcoming culture that we all desire. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Nelson, you are up.
Well, I also want to thank the PTA for allowing me to have this opportunity. It was great to meet everyone, and you know, I'm looking forward to hopefully working with you. But you know, when I see our kids in school every day, we live in a culturally and politically and really racially divided society. But I don't see those things when, you know, I'm in the halls and in the schools with our kids every day. What I see is I see innocence, I see virtue, I see a need for caring adult relationships in a structured learning environment. And what I want our students to know is that they are competing in a global environment. I want them to see that they can have the best that the world offers. The divisions that manifest themselves most often are outside of the school. So what I want to do is bring those elements into the conversation so that the district and the community can grow together. I want the environment that we create at Woodland to be a thriving environment, and an environment where our kids, where seeds can be planted that will last our kids a lifetime. So,
Thank you, Nelson. And the final candidate for closing remarks is Joel.
Again, thank you, Woodland PTA. Thank you, Pat. And thank you, Tracy, for keeping us within our time limits. I think the Woodland voters have a tough decision to make. It's unfortunate there's 6 of us running for 4 seats. But when my pitch would be, the first and foremost, you want to make sure you have board members who get along, and board members who in my case have experience working on boards and have been very successful working on boards and been recognized for my positivity and my inclusiveness. I also think it's important to have board members who have a strong record of analyzing data and understanding trends and working on solutions. And I think that's something I can bring. I think also you need board members who seek input and respect differences. And I think a lot of us do that. And it's something I value a lot too. There's a lot of difficult issues facing Woodland, whether it's on the federal level, the state level, or demographics. And I just think with my background, I would be a great asset to the board, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. I am now going to turn it over to Stephanie for closing remarks.
This concludes our candidate forum for this evening. I would like to say on behalf of the PTA and the greater Woodland community, thank you to all of our candidates for being here tonight and participating in this forum. I'd like to say thank you to Tracy, our PTA treasurer, for keeping time tonight. Thank you, Tracy. And a huge thank you to Pat Arnold for moderating this event and being here to help us with this event. So thank you very much. Election day is Tuesday, April 1st. If anyone has any questions regarding voting, please feel free to contact Lake County Voter Services. And thank you all very much for being here tonight, and have a lovely evening. Thank you, everybody.